Mitchell Levy is the AHA guy at AHAthat and CEO and thought leader architect at Think AHA, who empowers experts, thought leaders, and businesses to share their genius. His superpower is extracting the genius from your head in a 2-hour interview so that his team can ghostwrite your book and make you an Amazon best-selling author in 4 months or less. He is an accomplished entrepreneur who has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, including 4 publishing companies that have published over 800 books. Mitchell is a TEDx speaker and international best-selling author with over 60 business books. He provides strategic consulting to over 100 companies and has advised over 500 CEOs on critical business issues and has been chairman of the board of a NASDAQ-listed company. In addition to these accomplishments, he's been happily married for 29 years and regularly spends 4 weeks annually in Europe with his family and friends. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for Mitchell Levy.
Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, all those places where you can get a podcast. If you don't know what a podcast is, email me at info@emmettmuckles.com and I'll lead the way for you. Today, as I said in the pre-introduction, is Mitchell Levy, the AHA guy. What's going on, my man?
Emmett, I don't know, man. Do you think people know how to spell Muckles, or do you need to actually spell it out when you give your email address?
Yeah, they pretty much, once they type in Emmett and then Smith comes up and then they put the M.
Then your name pops up?
Then my name pops up.
Okay, I got it. Well, like Knuckles with an M, I got it.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Perfect.
So you've done a lot of things, man. You've built business. You've taken people by the hand and said, come, let me show you the way. And you've also created this business for those people who are wanting to put their thoughts and their philosophy down on paper. And you've come up with a method that they can produce their works without fret in 2 hours. Is that true?
Somewhat. Partially. There's a lot of misperceptions in those statements, so let me clear them up. But overall, the answer is yes. But let's talk about what we do.
All right.
So we have a done-for-you book writing service, and what that means is if we and I'll come back to what a book is and specifically what the book is that we're talking about for any individual.
Okay.
But what that means is if we started on doing a book today, what you can imagine is fast forwarding 4 months from now. 4 months from now, you will then be an Amazon best-selling author with a hardcover book. And for those who are listening, that's the sound of me knocking on a hardcover book because it has lots of content in it. Hardcover, paperback, Kindle, PDF. PDF you typically use for lead gen. And then there's a platform called AHAthat. We have 750,000 users who share your content. And so you're also in the AHAthat platform. Okay, so that's the 2 hours part is I'll do a 2-hour interview and I'll pull the genius from your head. After that, we'll need another 3, maybe 5 hours of review time. Like, you want to let us know what your cover looks like. We have images inside our book. So our books are, and here's what I've redefined as a concept of a book. Our books have 140 bite-sized quotes and 7 blog posts. And next to a blog post will be an image. And so we also print in color. So it's extremely powerful. So you might say to yourself, Mitchell, that's a quote book. You could say, yeah, sort of. But it's not just any quote book. It's your quote book. And it's your quote book that demonstrates that you're the expert at what you do. And so we're not talking about we're not creating your life story. We're not creating a cookbook. We're not creating those. What we are doing is we're creating that asset that makes you look like a recognized expert in the space that you have expertise. Because when you want to get more clients, how are they going to interact with you? Well, they need to know you. Having a book is a good way to be known. They need to like you. But most importantly, they need to trust you. And if you have a book that's an Amazon best-selling book, and the title of the book is the pain point you solve for your prospects, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, maybe this person can help me. So that's what we do. And it is we'll talk with a author, and largely what I'm going to say to them is, who are your customers and what pain point do you solve? Or what I like to say is, what is their CPOP? What is your CPOP? What is your customer's point of pain? And if you could solve a customer's point of pain, then that's the title of the book. It's either that or the anti CPOP is the title of the book.
So have you had customers who've come to you and you said, what's your customer's point of pain? Which basically helps them delve down into who their perfect customer is. Do they have problems identifying them?
Did that answer the question? There's so many answers. Nice open-ended question, by the way.
Yes, but that's the one.
Yes,
that's the one thing that what anybody says when you're going into business or you're going to do something for someone outside of yourself. Who is your customer? And they've elevated it to say, who is your perfect customer? Which means niching down, which a lot of us have problems doing because we see the world from our own eyes.
Not only do we see the world from our own eyes, everyone thinks their shit does not stink, and that the answers that they've put into place to help solve a solution for them or for their best client or for their family member, they think that solution is universally available and universally applies to everyone. And just, I'm no exception, right? Who's my client? I can give you a niche, but I could also keep going and talk about all these other areas. So the best way to attract clients is for your prospect and your set of prospects, people who don't know you yet, to start getting to know you as an expert at what you do. Well, what you need to do, probably the best way to think about it, and this is, let's assume for a second that you're selling a high ticket price item. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of high ticket priced items, word of mouth marketing is one of the best ways to at least open the door. Right. And so how do you get word of mouth marketing? Well, you got clients who like you. You can create testimonials, the video or audio testimonials. But probably the most important thing is what happens if you get that opportunity, you get that 10 seconds in front of somebody who knows the perfect clients for you. Ooh. Right? This is the ultimate. And this is where we all fail. And let me not say we all fail. How about we say the majority of people fail? If I have 10 seconds in front of the right person, I'm going to try my best to give them one soundbite that they can remember to help pass me along to somebody else, right? And that's the thing that even our best clients, one of the things we forget to do, we forget to ask our best clients to give us referrals.
Yeah.
And we forget to make it easy for our best clients to give us referrals. Right. So for me, here's what I'll say, right? I'm a global credibility expert. You want credibility? Write a book. You have no time for a book? We will write it for you.
All right. I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. The book is made. The book is there. I've got this cool book. Now what?
So if you write a book, and you don't tell anyone, it's like a tree falling in a forest. Did it really happen? And the answer is no, right? That's the other thing. We come from a world in the past, and it generates from the Gutenberg press. It stems back to the Bible. We have this assumption that if we take our content, we put it in a book, all of a sudden the world is going to recognize us for the experts we are. And the answer is, in today's world, that's not happening. In today's world, there's just so much information, so much content, so much bombarded at us that if we, i.e. the author of the book or the owner of the business, if we don't go and tell, whether or not we're telling people directly or we're telling through a podcast or a video cast or writing in articles or one-to-one networking, whatever it is, if we don't tell our prospects who we are and what we do, they're not going to know. So with a book, there are some things you could do that are simple. One of the things that we offer to all of our authors, we do an Amazon best-selling campaign.
Okay.
Now, here's what I'll say. When we do an Amazon campaign, you can call yourself an Amazon best-selling author, and we'll have all the stats and all the mechanics behind it, but it really doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you've sold so many more books and all your clients are coming and life is fixed. It's just a title. It's like being a high school graduate or a college graduate or a PhD. It's just a title. It implies something. It implies that there are enough people who like what you do and you became an Amazon best-selling author. So what do? Let me give you there are so many techniques that we could spend hours just talking about techniques. I'm going to tell you my favorite. This is my favorite because it's the most effective. If you're a coach or you're in business today and you want to I have the coaches I'm thinking about were able to anywhere between double to 8 times their business. Here's what they do. When you know you're doing the book, you then start figuring out who your clients are, going back to who your clients are. But in this case, not only figure out who your clients are, but actually get their names and physical addresses. And then you write, you pre-stamp envelopes, whether they're USPS or FedEx. For most of the people, you do FedEx. And you could do hardcover books. And you do a handwritten note that goes inside the books. So whether it's 100 books or 300 books, when they come in, you send out your FedEx and USPS envelopes, and then you start doing follow-up calls. People will be calling you back. But then you do follow-up calls of those that didn't call you back in 2 weeks or so. You've gotten past all the gatekeepers. Yeah. You're talking directly to those people who are your prospects, and you're coming to them from a different perspective. You're coming from them from an author of a book that have given them a gift that they probably have never received before or haven't received in that way. And if you then have a pitch that makes it very easy for you to walk in the door, you're going to walk in the door. So there are many different techniques, but as a consultant in business, that's probably the most effective you could possibly do.
What about these people who have this book idea and it is a departure from who they are? So, because a lot of times we're 2 different people, 3 different people. There's the perception that you give to the public, but then there's the internal, I like to say, spirituality that kind of comes out. And it usually comes out in the form of a book. But they don't have a base. They have nothing. How do you work with them?
Well, first, I have to say we're the industrial age world, and I did a TED Talk talking about this. So you can actually go to just do Mitchell Levy TED Talk or type in being seen and being heard as a thought leader, and you'll get to the TED Talk, and you could watch that. And the old world is the industrial age, and you could think about between 1920 and 2019, that 100-year period, we've only made it 50% from the industrial age to what I call the social age. And in the social age, and I'd say even today, there should not be 2 of you. There should not be 3 of you. There should be 1 of you. The person who is you should be the person that also exists in the workforce when you're working with your peers, with your bosses, with those that work for you. Should be those that you hang out with your family and friends, those that you hang out with your clients. There is no. Now, this is not universally true, but Emmett, what I'm going to say is if you could live a life where it's that same human that is actually the person that you are in all situations are the same, it simplifies everything and it makes it beautiful. Okay, but now get to your question. So here's the interesting part. The question I always ask people is your book a hobby, which it's okay to have a book being a hobby, or is your book something else? So it doesn't matter if they have a super strong base yet for what they want to do. The question is the book something that they have expertise in or something they want to execute on? So let me give you an example. Somebody your age, somebody our age, our parents are getting older. At some point in time, they may need home care. The parents move into our houses. We then become experts at taking care of senior citizens and making their lives that much better. We may even take off, some of my friends have taken off work to take care of their mom or their dad, right? And when they're done, they've learned so much, they want to write a book. So the first question I ask them is, so what do you want to have happen with a book? Do you want to actually now open up your own elderly healthcare facility? Do you want to create your own healthcare insurance? Do you want to make this part of your business? And if the answer is anything like that, you're okay. If the answer is anything other than that, like if your answer is, I want to create something because I need to educate the world on how to do this.
Yeah.
God, don't waste the time and money on a book. Right? So start a podcast, or best thing you could do. And this is what I also say for people who want to write their, unless you got 1 million people following you. I hate to say this, but nobody cares about your life story. Right. I mean, it's cool. Your friends care about it. Your family cares about it. And if you want to, if you have in your mind the opportunity to spend energy writing a book about your life story, what I'd say is hold up your camera. Ask yourself 4 questions. Take 15 minutes each to answer each of those questions. Either put those 4 videos on YouTube or put them on Vimeo and say, by the way, guys, here's my life story. And get that thing out of the way, right? Because, the concept of putting a book together is hundreds of hours. If you're doing a traditional publisher, thousands of hours. Price-wise, 5, 10, 15, 20, people spend $100,000 on books.
Yeah.
Like, the question becomes, think about the best use of your time and energy. And if your goal is to help people learn, help them learn what? There may be elements of your life story that's relevant. Well, maybe you create a training course and you do physical training or online training and you help people with a component of your book, which is what you've done in your life to help you. That's okay, right? So I just want to tie, it's not a separate entity, Emmett. This concept called a book is something that's a beautiful credibility piece that could help you open up more doors, but it's not. The old days was potentially we wrote a book and Oprah saw us and they made a movie about us and, life was beautiful. But the odds of that are like the odds of winning the lottery. Nowadays, your goal with a book, to me, is it helps establish the credibility so you can open the door so you can do more speaking, consulting, product sales, service sales.
Awesome. That was pretty informative there.
A lot of aha messages dropped in that component.
That's called dropping science. Now, when you come across people and you have this conversation with them, how often do you see them deflate? Like, oh, I didn't know it was that deep.
It's if I wasn't presenting the opposite side of the equation, the answer would be often, right? Because if somebody says to me, man, I've lived an amazing life and I got to write my book, or I've got to do my cookbook, or I got to write my kid's book. Those are all areas that are very difficult to be successful in. Then, what I'm going to dive in is, so what's your business today? What do you do? So what do you do today and what do you do tomorrow? Right? And what often happens, if what they do today is what they want to do tomorrow, then I'll change the conversation around to a asset that's appropriate for them to be more successful at what they do today and tomorrow. Yeah. Right? In which case, in that particular case, then there is no deflating. It's just simply, oh, you're right, Mitchell. My life story, it's going to take me either $10,000 or a couple hundred hours, or you fill in the blank. And you know what? I agree with you. Time is important, and I don't have time for that. I want to spend my time elsewhere. Okay. Now, in cases where, and this is a great example, in cases where people are not 100% sure what they want to do tomorrow, they're not really happy about where they are today, and they just think that writing a book on something would be helpful for them, here's what I suggest. So we actually have what we really do is the done for you service. That said, I have a 3-step writing process. So for those people who want to learn more about this, you can go to AHAthat.com, AHAthat.com/author. So AHAthat.com/author, and you'll see our 3-step writing process. And by the way, if you want 47,000 pieces of content to share on social media, it's free to use, free to share. Go to AHAthat.com. Now, one of the things that I would suggest is figure out a topic you're excited about and start writing a book. It doesn't mean all three, you could write your book without publishing it. So the fact that you're writing the book, you're learning and growing, that could be interesting. The other thing that we do, and I don't think I have this listed on the website yet, so you'll have to reach out to me if you're interested, is an anthology book. So imagine, Emmett, going out to 40 people, interviewing them for 5 minutes each, or having them fill out a survey, and you incorporate 2 or 3 aha messages in each of the 40 people, and that's your book. Think about, and how about we do this? We'll take a couple of people who are doing major life transitions. Been a mom. My last kid just went off to high school. I haven't worked in 20 years. What next? Right? Imagine that person then going out and interviewing 40 people. Hey, what do I do next? Don't you think some aha moment in this particular case, just saying we're using the vehicle of a book as a tool to make things happen.
Yeah.
But what's really happening is we're taking a journey. We're just using this platform as a way to do a journey. And sometimes the journey will be more important than the destination.
You know, that is so true, because there are many things that I've done in my life just because I hadn't done them, but it looked shiny. And for me particularly, it saved my life. Because,
really?
Yeah, because I grew up on the east side of Detroit, man, during the time of high gangs, crack cocaine. And because I didn't follow the crowd, I looked at my shiny things and went on these, I was that kid that you're like, you're kind of weird. It's like, I'm not weird. There's this band called AC/DC. Be like, you're not supposed to listen to that. Who says? You know what I'm saying? And
right.
And that's one of the things about life is that you have to go through things that resonate with your heart. And it's kind of what you said with the journey. You have to resonate with the things that resonate with you, because that will give you a life fulfilled.
Right.
And part of this process is after they've accumulated some of these things and they've had an aha moment, that's where you come into play.
Well, here's what's fascinating. Listen, I would absolutely love anyone who's interested to hire us and have us write your book. I'd love anyone who's interested to write their own book. More importantly, though, I want anyone who's interested to live the life they want to live and figure out how best to do it. And if you could use this platform, 3-step writing process. So go to AHAthat.com/author. Say you're writing a book, because you don't have to tell us about it until say you're writing a book, and use that process to learn, to educate, to grow. At some point in time, you may send us the book and we'll decide if we publish it. If you pay us the money and it's not crap, we'll publish it. If it's crap, we won't publish it. And we'll tell you why. I mean, and I'll do it in a very nice way. And we try our best never to turn people down, but there are just sometimes that the content just doesn't work for the platform we have. That said, you won't feel bad, because I don't make people feel bad. You will understand why things are important and where things are going. But you could use this approach, I'm writing a book, as a way to open up doors and talk to people. And whether or not you end up publishing with us, that's irrelevant. I mean, I'm not going to be rich or not based on one more author coming to us.
Right.
I'm happy if you use this as a vehicle. If you need a direction or a centerpiece to help move things happen. So let's say you were abused as a kid and you want to help out a nonprofit. Well, write a book and help that happen, and take proceeds from the book and donate to charity. I mean, there are just so many unique things we could do. And probably, Emmett, the most important thing I'd say is take every day. We have presents come to us all the time. We have aha moments multiple times during the middle of the day. What that means, though, is you have to be open to listen to them. You have to be open to receiving.
Oh, good one.
The gifts that come your way.
Oh, that's a good one.
And so put yourself in a position where you're open to hear people share what gifts are potentially available. And I don't know. So to answer the fundamental question is, do people feel bad if we tell them the book they wanted to do is not important? No, not if you're able to craft a vision with that individual that says, "Oh yeah, I was going this direction, to the left, and now I've taken a 60% turn, a 60-degree turn in another direction. I kind of like this. Let me experiment in this area." And by the way, life is about small incremental experiments. And when you find the one that you like, then you spend more energy on it.
So you help them pivot.
Essentially.
Now, there's one question that I've always wondered as of late. You hear about people writing books, but you very rarely see people, particularly men, talking about books. What is the market dynamic today about?
I don't know that statement.
And I'm an avid reader. My wife's an avid reader, and our circle of friends are avid readers. And oftentimes when I bring up, "Hey, Emmett, what are you doing?" "I'm reading Paulo Coelho, blah, blah." And they're like, "Huh? You're doing what?" And I'm like, "Ooh." And I find that you know what I'm saying, though?
So, Emmett, So men and women communicate in different ways. What this is telling me is that the circle of men friends you hang out with
are Neanderthals.
Are not the type of friends that sort of uses their hobby reading books.
Yeah.
So either you're okay with that or you get a new set of friends, right? and women a lot of times will do the book thing and the book club thing because they generally speaking, here's my favorite example of the difference between men and women, right? So I love this. So I had a friend come over, stay at the house. We both have a software app. He has a software app. So the AHAthat platform also is a software app. So, and he was at the house 3 years ago, and we essentially stayed up to like 3 a.m. chatting like 2 or 3 nights in a row. Mm-hmm. Came to our house about 8 months ago. And my wife was around, and she gave us, nice food to eat. And we sat outside for about 3 hours. And when I come in, I go, John's divorced. And the interesting part, the first question out of her mouth, who got the house? Where's he living? Women are about food and shelter. And as a man, the only conversation I had, how did that affect your men are about hunting and gathering. How did that affect your business? Are you still, did it affect the number of clients coming in? How are you doing prospecting, right? I spent 3 hours and didn't once ask about food and shelter. And I asked about hunting and gathering. And that's, so the one of the ways the food and shelter thing works for women is a lot of times they could bond around a common knowledge point that they get from a book, whether it's educational or some other way to do it. And so I do see more women reading those the types of books in those circles. But I will say to you, there are a lot of men out there who read books.
I know
so
there are.
You may want to.
Look, I told you where I am. I am in Indiana. This is about trucks and mullets. Hey,
there's this thing called an internet. You could actually make friends, with people who are not physically next to you.
I have a lot of friends. Well, I have a lot of people that I know and know me.
Of course you do.
Today, we are in the social space. And depending on your mindset and your age, you can have problems understanding that space. And you have a premise about how to tackle social media in like 5 minutes a day. What's that premise?
So you have two questions. So let me answer both. So I'm going to answer how to do social media in 5 minutes a day, but let me ask you how you prepped that question. Was there a lot of people who are having a hard time understanding how to live in today's world?
Mm-hmm.
And let me give you that answer first. And I'll give it from the perspective of my 20-year-old son. If I ask my son a question, the first place he goes to getting that answer is, well, besides his cell phone, but he's going to go to YouTube and look up the video that answers the question for him. Right?
Ding.
So ding, 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 ding. If you're hearing this, if you have a question, like for instance, if you say to me, I don't know what this LinkedIn thing is, or I have LinkedIn, but I think my profile sucks. The answer is it probably does. It probably looks like a resume. Spend 5 or 10 hours on a Saturday or weekend or 2 weekends if you can't find that much time. Google on or search on YouTube how to make a great LinkedIn profile. If you spend 5 to 10 hours watching videos on a number of different people who call themselves experts, some of them are, but a number of people who have expertise in LinkedIn profile building, and you watch all these things, you will have enough expertise to increase your LinkedIn profile. That's what the kids do today. That's what you need to do today, period. Okay, that answers that question. So, social media in 5 minutes a day. The word social media, or the phrase social media, is 2 words. It's social is 1 word and media is a 2nd word. Okay, so what happens is when a company or an individual gets access to a microphone or a camera, they see of the word social media, they see media, and they see this microphone and they go, oh my God, I have a camera and I have a microphone. I could tell people about me. And what they do is they get on the microphones, they say, hey, look at me. I'm cool. I got a great product. I have a great system. And that's media, right? Social media is 2 words. And I would say if you want to be successful with social media, 80% of what you should focus on is social, right? So here's how to do social media in 5 minutes a day. And whether it's 5 minutes a day or you could change the time, but I like the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
So wake up in the morning and spend 1 minute. So that is 20% of your time sharing good, compelling content. So let's say you read some stuff from your book. You wanted to share, hey, just read this quote from the book, or you read a couple of emails, or you have a couple of newsletters, or I would say go to AHAthat.com. We have 47,000 pieces of content to share. But basically, wake up in the morning, spend 1 minute sharing 2 or 3 pieces of content on whatever network. Now, here's important, on whatever network your prospects are going to be on. So if you like Facebook, but all your prospects are on LinkedIn, I'm glad you like Facebook, but where you want to spend your time is on LinkedIn, because that's where your prospects are. Okay. So spend a minute.
I like how you threw that in.
Just sharing a couple pieces of content. Now go away, come back a couple hours later, and spend 4 minutes, 80% of your time, touching the people who touch your content. Right? Let's use the real world example. You're in an office. Let's say you're still working for somebody else. You're in an office, or maybe you run the company. And what happens is you're sitting at your desk and somebody brings you a cup of coffee, or you sent something to the printer and somebody picks it up and brings you. What do you say when they bring you a cup of coffee? You say, thank you. Right? So what happens if you ignore them? And then you do it again the next day and you ignore them again. And then they do it the day after that, and you ignore them. Do you think they're going to do it on day 4? They may even not do it day 2 or 3.
No.
Right? So in social media, people like our stuff, love our stuff, forward our stuff, comment on our stuff, and we ignore them. So if you share stuff on social media and people comment, forward, love, share your stuff, give some of it back. And so that's how to do it, is 20% of your time sharing content. It doesn't even have to be your own, right? And 80% of your time touching the people who touch your content.
You know what? And that was a great summation of it, because most people miss that little point. Hey, I'm going to put this up there. bunch of people say, oh, that's great, blah, blah, blah. Radio silence. So they don't get the social interaction with their clients or just their people, their circle. I see it so many times. So what are you guys doing? Are you doing any webinars? Are you doing anything to present and bring people in? I know you've done a TED Talk, but what else do you have available that people can consume or find out more about you?
Yeah, probably the best. So I have a single vehicle now, and that is you can go to Mitchell Levy. So it's my name, and then it says 360.com. So MitchellLevy360.com. So that's MITCHELLLEVY 360.com. And what I have there are the social media sites that I'm hanging out on.
Okay.
So feel free to connect to me on the sites that are relevant to you so you can communicate in the way that you want to communicate. Once again, that's MitchellLevy360.com. And then we do tons of stuff. You know, there's webinars, there's books. You can go to AHAthat.com or AHAthat.com/author and take a look at our authoring process. I spend probably the most of my time on LinkedIn, but I'm also on Facebook, Twitter. I could say I did spend time on Google Plus, but that's now going away.
Yeah, that's going
So I also Snap, Instagram, Pinterest. So once again, connect on the platform that's relevant for you. We have so much educational material out there in terms of what are books, what are thought leadership, how to drive stuff. I've got at least 20 different sites with content on a number of different areas. And so, you know, there's probably something interesting, and we've got a ton of shows. So I've got 3 podcasts, and 2 vlogs, video blogs. So there's lots of great content that you could learn in terms of the stuff that we do, or even just not necessarily stuff to buy stuff about, but stuff that we put out there to help educate the community.
You're a busy man. Busy man.
Well, wait, there is one word I learned. So as an entrepreneur, my first take at it, I missed one important element. And that's the word. It starts with an L. It's the word leverage. So I forgot about the word leverage. And so Mitchell Levy needed to be in all these places to make stuff happen. Nowadays, with companies like Fiverr and Upwork, it is very easy to leverage what you do. So for me, whenever I put out a piece of content, that piece of content has at least 2 or 3 or 4 repurpose points, right? So it's not just one thing, but it goes in multiple locations because once again, the people who are on LinkedIn may not be the same people on Facebook. They need to see it in a different way, in the way that Facebook people want to read it versus the way LinkedIn people want to read it.
So if there's one thing you can tell the Billionaire Lifestyle audience, if there was one thing that you could share, one elevator speech, what is that?
Anything I want?
Yeah, keep it clean.
No, it'll just be direct. Listen, if I'm a global credibility expert, if you want credibility and open markets for people who are very interested in learning what you do and how you do it, you need a book, and we press the easy button. It's just that simple. You'll spend with us somewhere between 2 to 5 hours over a 4-month period and be an Amazon best-selling author with a hardcover, paperback, PDF, Kindle, and an AHA book. And it'll be one that's useful. I mean, if you heard this conversation, we will not produce stuff that's not valuable. So you're going to produce a piece of asset that particular asset will then be something that will help propel whatever you're doing, whether it's you're giving money to a nonprofit or whether it's something that's the lead magnet for your business. We're going to give you that asset that just helps bring in the audience that will then consume your product.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
My pleasure. I like your questions. I'm glad we were not scripted. Beautifully done.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how it goes. Remember this. You really have to understand this. You are a human being. You are a person of color. We are all under the sun. It affects us all. No matter who you are, you are in the image of man. As our creators said, figure a doctrine out. It's going to come out into the same thing. And then we have been given the experience, which is the being part. So I'm going to say it to you like this. Let's say you expire today. You get to the gates of whoever you think your creator is, and you say, I didn't get to get the Mercedes. That entity is going to respond to you and say, you got a life. And you got free will. What you do with it, or what you did with it, was yours. So make your life what you want. There really are no rules. They're just influences. Remember, love yourself. When you get out the shower, drop the towel, bask in the glory that you came to this earth in, and realize that you are a billionaire. Just in your hand, you have 1 billion cells. You own those, so you're already a billionaire. Till next time, love you all. Peace.